Sure. I wanted to ask you, there are reports over the weekend of up to 100 people killed in East Darfur in clashes, tribal clashes, and there was nothing in the reports about UNAMID either going to try to break them up or protect civilians. What's UNAMID been doing as 100 people have been killed?
Well, what I can tell you is that the African Union United Nations mission in Darfur says that on August 10th it received reports of further escalation of hostilities in El Dain and the general area which had resulted in unknown casualties. Today, UNAMID provided a special flight to a government Darfur Regional Authority delegation to El Dain in support of cessation of hostilities. So UNAMID has also sent senior personnel into the field to provide technical advice in the mediation. We have received initial reports that unknown attackers have ambushed a UNAMID-formed police unit patrolling the town of El Dain, eastern Darfur. UNAMID has dispatched a quick reaction force to extract the patrol, and at least one peacekeeper has been wounded.
Could I guess I want to understand what the protection of civilians role of UNAMID is. Isn't it, if people are being killed, do they just try to help mediation, or as they're doing in the DRC, do they feel some responsibility to take military action to protect civilians?
Their job is the protection of civilians.
So what happened? Have they actually set out to stop this fighting, or they're thinking that the Sudanese government is going to stop the fighting?
Well, first of all, it's up to the Sudanese government to stop the fighting. And they are there to protect civilians when they can reach the areas where the fighting takes place. Remember, it's a very large geographical area, and they are not present in force everywhere. Matthew?
Sure. Eduardo, I wanted to ask you, there was previously in Sri Lanka this incident of live fire by the army that I've asked about a couple of times, but over the weekend there was a pretty high-profile storming of a mosque by Buddhist extremists and beating of people in a mosque. So various religious leaders and even some countries' missions there have spoken on it. I wonder, does the UN see any sort of trend of deterioration of people getting along, and do they have any comment on the beating of people in a mosque for their religious identity?
Well, I don't have any comments on that right now, but we'll check into it and see if we can get you something.
Yes.
Sure. I wanted to ask you, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, there are reports, BBC and others, of an uptick in violence in Katanga province, which is not in the Kivus, but in which they say civilians are being killed. And so, one is MONUSCO doing anything on that? What's their response to that? And as to the Kivus, I wanted to know, there seems to be the M23 has said that they're sticking by what they agreed to in Kampala, and they're not going to relinquish their positions near the Goma airport. And the spokesman for MONUSCO has said that they intend to expand the weaponless zone to include those positions. So does the UN, do they still view what was agreed to at Kampala as a binding agreement, or does this announcement by the MONUSCO state spokesman supersede that?
Well, I'll have to get back to you on that. What I have for you is that the objective of the security zone is to provide better protection to the over 1 million civilians, including internally displaced persons living in the area. UN peacekeepers and Congolese security forces will continue their patrols and to ensure the area is free of unauthorized weapons. The mission adds that the security zone is not an offensive operation and is not targeted against any one group. They are there to protect civilians.
Sure. Just if you could, what's the relationship between enforcing this zone and those agreements that were reached at Kampala? I know that Susanna Malcora went there, like there was a signed agreement of where positions were supposed to be. Does that mean a position without weapons, or it seems like there's a brewing problem?
I'll have to find out, Matthew. I don't have that information with me. Last question, Joe.
Yeah,
two different ways of delivering a solid message to you.
I see, okay.
It's easier to film, actually, when you're sitting.
It's easier to film when I'm sitting, so I try to bend over backwards to help the medium. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good afternoon.